Hello, everybody. We are here at for DebateSensei Wednesday night. I am Jared Kabika Miller. I am a professor of communications, debate coach. We have with us Matthew Shapiro, Esquire.
Hello.
Esquire.
Hello. I got
right.
sworn in today, everybody. That's why I'm wearing this suit for y'all just right now.
All right. And we have assistant director, Tim Seavey.
Assistant to the director. Yeah.
Assistant to the director. That's right. San Diego State University has itself a new administrator. So
watch out.
Yeah, we got something planned for you, but let's start with these accomplishments. Okay, so first, Matt Shapiro, you got sworn in today.
I wore these clothes for a reason other than you today. I'm sorry, world, but yeah, I got sworn in and I saw a judge, and they stood 6 feet away, and he gave me an oath, and the final steps, everybody, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm gonna be a lawyer real soon, and it's official. It's very official. So thank you for celebrating with me, Jared. And Tim.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it gives really good perspective on debate too, because it's sort of one of the professions that takes on a lot of debate.
You know what's funny is debate. If you want to be a litigator, a trial lawyer someday, I highly recommend debate, argumentation, communications classes, comm studies. I have no idea why more people don't take that route, because I'm just starting, so I have no room to speak, but I'm just letting you all know that I felt that that was really some of the beginning for me.
But there's also mock trial, which is very much like competitive debate. I mean, it's still really academic and
yeah.
creating
my law school
scenarios.
For instance, had a mock trial team. I was actually a part of a different team called the moot court team.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and the difference is a mock trial is a mock trial, like the first case. Think of it that way. And a moot court is a fake appeal, basically.
Oh, okay.
It was we pretended to be speaking to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's fictional. Okay, it's kind of like a debate in a lot of ways.
It's a real case, but you're just doing a fake appeal.
The way it works is moot court. For all of you who don't know, each competition, it's kind of like public forum, where each tournament has a resolution. Think of it that way. Each tournament has a case, and a case is 50 pages of different types of documentation, which is the record. So in appellate law, you use the record. You don't look at evidence. You don't look at the gun. You look at the words that people use to describe that was the gun and stuff like that. So we have the record, and we use that, and we have to do both sides. The only other difference is in moot court, we have to prepare a document. We actually write an appellate brief for one side, but you have to actually go in and do an oral argument for both sides. And
okay.
It's 3 prelims and normally 3 out rounds. It's debate. Like literally, when I heard about it, I was like, I want on that team. I want to do it. It was the same part of me that when I found out about debate, honestly, is the same part of me that did that. So, I'd
love to talk about some moot court, maybe at one of these sessions here. Tim,
yeah.
San Diego State, assistant to the director of forensics. Yeah.
He's the assistant director.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the team.
Yeah, I am super stoked that all of that really fell together in the ways that it did. I just moved down to San Diego. Funny enough, the same day that I was literally packing up Orange County house to move to San Diego was the day that you and I got on the phone and talked about, hey, there's this thing called DebateSensei. Remember that website that we built like 5 years ago and haven't really we've just been doing some weird stuff with it? How would you like to keep doing things? So I've been looking for a debate organization, like finding an institution that just needed some extra help for a good while. And then I ended up just cold emailing Ashley Knuckles-Cuevas, the director of forensics down at San Diego. And she was awesome. She was like, come on in, check out the team. And they are a killer operation. So they're like full service, 4-year institution that does debate as well as individual events is kind of hard to find. So pretty awesome.
What type of debate they do?
Does that.
They're doing IPDA and NPDA.
They do Parley and LD. And actually, we did send a few in for IPDA as well. So yeah,
Hold it down for the Parley.
Yeah.
I did. I love Parley. I mean, I have this special place in my heart for Parley.
So they're doing NFALD.
yeah. We had 2 national qualifiers this year.
Oh man.
And we had one kid that broke 2 quarters last year, octos. But yeah, so like it's LD and Parley and IEs. So LD is just difficult to manage as a squad as a whole. But we got some pretty solidly dedicated kids, but a good sizable staff of graduate teaching assistants that are a phenomenal crew to get to teach and coach alongside. So they've got IE coaches and like specific event coaches and debate coaches, and it's killer. So I'm really pumped to get to work with them even more than I was.
All right.
Hey, Jared, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a good question for you, actually. I think me and Tim have discussed this question, and I'm going to ask it. Do you happen to know any common mistakes for novice debaters to take note of over the course of the next few months while they practice?
So the way that we're going to do this is that I asked everyone. I wrote down the top 2 mistakes that I would like if I were going to be talking to a novice. If I only was able to talk about 2, I wrote it down. I asked Tim and Matt to do the same. Now I put them on these banners. Okay, so we'll deal with them one at a time. When I bring the banner up, I'm going to give that person the opportunity to explain what they mean by it, because it's not exactly self-explanatory. And then we're just going to kind of jump into it and contribute to our experiences as well. Okay. So I'll start it off. Okay. So for example, one of the ones that I would say would be about ignoring the judge. And you might be wondering what the hell that means. Now, that's not that you pretend that they aren't there in the room. I'm really talking about 2 times, before and after the round, ignoring the judge, only paying attention to the judge during the round. Because the round starts as soon as postings go up, not as soon as you get your topic, all right? And it's not as soon as time starts. As soon as postings go up, you have some information that is useful to you in your strategy, and that is, who is your judge? And most debate tournaments that I know of have some sort of resource about looking up judges. Now, it's not always absolutely complete, and sometimes you have a judge change at the very last minute, so it's not foolproof, right? So you kind of get screwed sometimes. But there is that resource, and I think like I'm trying to resolve to be a better coach by teaching that earlier. And so because it's starting to become really noticeable amongst novices, especially some of the ones that I coach, that they're just kind of like jumping into the arguments without thinking about who's listening to them. Mm-hmm. So that's what I meant by it. All right. And then there's after, which is reading the ballots, digesting it, appreciating what they said. Don't argue with a judge, only ask questions. Like, you never, ever, ever, it's like, whoops, but that can't be right. That can't be right. You can't be. No, that's not right. It's just about asking questions, because all you are doing is trying to collect information for the next time you have them around.
Yeah, I think another one, like even in the round. So Jared, you just said it exactly right. I think lesson is when people can see you and smell you with their ears and eyes, you better be aware that like you are being judged even then, and that whatever they see you doing outside of the rounds they're not going to forget that when they see you in the round, and that's a very important point. Also kind of in round, but I think a lot of people do when I hear ignoring the judge, I kind of think of when 2 debaters start, especially newer debaters, when one of them, for instance, gets really heated, okay, and it gives this opportunity to the other team to either one, kind of roll with the punches and stay cool, and in my mind really focus on the judge, who's probably not freaking out and probably way cool and probably laughing, like to match, or you can match the aggression and anger and heatedness of the other team, okay? And like, always know that when someone starts losing their cool a little bit, like, yes, maybe they're being passionate, but like, if they start crossing any lines, like, don't ignore the judge. Look at the judge. If they're not losing their cool, like, maybe if you see them smirking, if they're, I mean, who knows? I don't mean to say that it's always funny when someone gets a little heated. I just mean to say that, like, there are times that things happen where you don't realize it, but you're not debating this other team. You're debating in front of a judge, and you want the judge to see you differently than them. So if so don't ignore the judge. Tim, please. I mean, I'm sure you have something to say about this. What do you think?
Judging philosophy, right? Like that's a common thing that I think we even talked about here, but asking judges like, what is your judging philosophy? I don't know if that question means anything. And I don't know if the responses that judges give mean anything anymore. Like, I'll listen to anything. Like, all right. So I think maybe asking better questions at the beginning. Coaches usually instruct novices to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just had a thought about like during like coaching sessions, telling you that like when you go through and you're like, ooh, I wonder, should we say this argument? It's like, I don't know. It depends on the judge that we have. It's like, well, let's ask them about this one argument. Like rather than say, what's your judging philosophy? It's like, hey, what are your feelings about Catalonia becoming its own, nation state? Like I have no idea. You know what I mean? Like be a little bit more direct. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But even building relationships with judges, you know what I mean? Just talking about something.
Don't be scared of judges. Yeah. That's a good point. Like when you're not in rounds, okay, so at a debate tournament, let's talk about the real hardcore debate tournaments where you're there for 3 days. You're there for, you're there for a while, right? You're sleeping somewhere where you don't normally sleep sometimes at a debate tournament, right? That judge, you see them at an ice machine at 3 a.m. Like, who knows when you see a judge, okay? My point is just like, you have to always carry yourself in a way as like, we talk about this all the time. We're like, this is a very human activity, okay? Like the way you are as a person is going to reflect on how they feel about you. If you just act like you're a nice person and respectful person in a round, and then you're just total, trash person outside of the, the square walls, like they're not going to forget that. And unfortunately, we talk about tabula rasa, and Jared's literally challenging the idea that it's possible to even do that, and part of that is when they see you, being a jerk,
All right. That's the 10-mile rule, right? Like most teams have that. Like the 10-mile rule, you don't talk crap on anyone or anything, including yourself or opponents or judges or anyone, until you're 10 miles away from the tournament, because you never know.
We called it van talk. That you like, there was only certain things that you would say in the team.
Van talk.
Oh,
van talk. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next one. We only got 4 or 5 minutes for each one. All right. We're Tim. This one's you.
Flowing full pages.
Flowing full pages. What do you mean?
So oftentimes students will run into a round, and flow refers to like the notes that you take in debate. And when it's your first time ever, you write notes the way that you maybe would in class, where you start in the upper left corner and flow all the way to the upper right-hand corner. And then you have like an entire page that you now have to respond to. And that's only one person's speech. That's really, really difficult to record 4+ speeches on the same sheet of paper or beyond. Or like having like this sheet is the MO and this sheet is the MG and this sheet is the like rebuttals.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. So having like using columns is a really important, useful tool that I encourage all debaters to start. And like we'll even have them fold their paper into 4 or 5 segments, right? Yeah. So that is like, this is the amount of space for one speech. And then this is the amount of space for the next speech. And that's the amount of space. So like you're just using a small amount of the time so that you're able to track arguments that have been made, responses made, dropped, etc. Because it's really hard to, take an entire speech on one piece of paper left to right and then remember where the hell everything else goes.
Yeah. Flowing is one of those. What bothers me about novices is they don't trust the coach when they say, no, you really should use columns. They're like, well, that's not the way I do it. I'm like, yeah, well, that's the way debate does it. So, you know what I mean? It's like, debate doesn't care how you do it.
Learning how to write. I mean, I'm going to bring up my visual aid back here. Okay. So like literally like, where am I at? It's all mirrored. So you write in one column, let's say here. And then and that's what I say. And then when Tim responds to me, you go to the, oh man, I hope this is the right direction.
Yeah, you're doing it right. You're doing it right.
You go to the next column.
No, that's wrong.
No, that's wrong. Okay, you go to the next column and you refute exactly where I said one thing to the other. Wherever he's responding to my argument specifically, you go over and then you write right there. And it makes so much sense when you start to do it. Like literally, even if you do a column right down the middle of the page, something like you respond directly to where they said something. And I use that to this day.
Asking whether or not you should use a special type of paper to flow.
Yes, legal paper
You like legal, huh?
14-inch legal paper. That is
Okay.
the correct
Larger.
answer.
It's
All
larger
other answers
paper
are,
is
well,
what that
actually,
is.
Excel is the real correct answer for all the cool people who are like, paper? Wow, you guys are
Yeah, no, and
old."
we need to
Yeah,
talk
I
about
know.
that. We need to
So, like,
talk about
Excel.
that.
But if you're not going to do that, especially like novice, legal paper, do it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like it's not hard to flow in Excel all that much. I still think that, yeah, I mean, I still think I could do it by hand, and it's just as convenient. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you. Honestly, I don't think I add anything by flowing on Excel, except maybe the cut and paste is a lot cleaner. You know what I mean? Like rather than having to draw certain arrows
Right, yeah, like the lines match
Yeah.
up cleanly, especially if you have like a response that's extra long, like it still cleanly ties.
Yeah, and usually though, if I screw up on Excel, even though the end result is cleaner, the time it takes to get to that end result usually kind of puts me behind. So I like, and so I don't know. It depends on how many mistakes I'm making as I'm flowing, but that usually depends on how organized the debater is, though. You
Yeah,
know what I
that's
mean?
so
It's like,
true.
so-
Just know that, like, I don't want to advocate any which way. Okay, the question was an interesting question because it doesn't say computer. Yeah, exactly. Like, yes, you can debate, you can
Heck
flow
yeah.
on a computer.
Heck yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what all the
Yeah,
people do these days. I feel like it is an unpopular opinion nowadays to be like, all right, I got my paper. People are like, wait, what the hell are you doing? But
Yeah.
that's like,
It's a transitional time for debate in that way. I mean, when even a few years ago, I only used paper. I never flowed around with a computer, but I've seen people flow rounds with computers. My judge, Coach Donnie Peters, he would definitely flow rounds with computers. And I don't think that if you've learned to do it that way, or if you haven't tried and you have a struggle flowing, maybe try it that way. Like don't be scared. As long as the tournaments, I guess, allow for that, then I don't fight the future. There's a part of me that says that very loudly.
If you really want your mind blown, go to debategraph.org. It's not the best way to flow during a round, but it's a really great way to analyze debates. You know what I mean? It's like
Draw cases up.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder to keep up with your debater using debate graph. Like you could keep up with a debater on Excel. But if you have a little bit of extra time to really flow things out in debate graph, it's an amazing.
Jared Kubicka-Miller, I believe, is a man who called the owners and creators of Debate Graph and actually had them create a whole language of debate, right?
And then wrote a textbook about it.
Yeah,
that's offered, I think, on there. So you can actually look around if you're messing around on there and look for debate.
Debategraph.org. Go check it out.
Check it out.
So, and just let me know if you need some help because it's not clear how to get to the policy debate ontology that has all this sort of link, brink, and impact sort of language. It uses a different language, but yeah, I would totally go there. Hey, we gotta we should move on.
Yeah, sounds good.
Let's see here. Matt, tell us about this one.
Showing your hand. Okay, so what I mean by this is, debate is a very emotional activity. Okay, and you may hear a novice debater more than anyone else is susceptible to hearing someone on the other team say something, or even on your own team, and making this face. and what you just did is, you have no idea what the judge heard. You have no idea if they were thinking about something else. But what you did just do is, no matter what they heard, you just showed on your face that you're losing this case, that you're losing this argument, that they just said something that really got under your gullet. So, Jared, what do you have to say? I mean, this is help me articulate what I'm trying to say here, please.
Okay, so you got to look like you're winning. You know what I mean? It's like you just you have to believe in it, okay? That you have to find, because during debate you've already had this prep time to get yourself acquainted with your side and everything like that, and there shouldn't be anything so brilliant that your opponents have said that should shake you. You know what I mean? And so that there is no reason to believe that your side is just the worst side. You know what I mean? It's like, and nobody can defend it. Somebody can. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you can do it creatively, and half of that is just looking and knowing that there is a way to defend your side, and always showing that. Always saying it's kind of like it's my job.
The face is worse almost than whatever they said. Your face reacting to what they said is almost worse than what they said. Tim, what do you think about this?
Well, it's the nonverbal debate in general is like one of the most overlooked key pieces of a debate, I think. And I think showing your hand can go the same in the opposite direction. I think it's obnoxious to the point of I will even discount an argument when I watch a novice. They're like, here's their opponent say something like,
yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Like, and I'm like, all right, whatever you're about to say,
glad you brought it up.
I think it's stupid.
That's the flip side where it's overconfidence, right? And
that's a really, really terrible way to conduct yourself in a round. So that's something we always are coaching students on is like your nonverbals should always be respectful and professional.
Oh man, I'm looking for something that their opponents do that I like. You know what I mean? I'm giving them so much benefit of the doubt when I start seeing that.
Yeah.
They better be really good.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, you're setting yourself up, man. You're setting yourself up. Okay, you know what? Let's move on to this one right here. Let's go to Tim. Let's shake it up a little bit. This one's pretty easy. This is
super straightforward. If you ever find yourself in your roadmap at the beginning of your speech saying, I'm just going to go ahead and reiterate, stop yourself right there. Please don't just go ahead and reiterate. I am bored already. Your judges are super tired of hearing you repeat the same thing over and over. So come up with something new. Your job is to refute it. Like if you don't know where to go, start on offense by refuting your opponents first. Because if you just reiterate your own points and you aren't defending your points, there's no value added to it. Like extensions, when we're talking about debate of like your opponents didn't touch any of your case arguments, say, all you have to say is extend case or extend, contention 1 or extend advantage 1, whatever. You can just extend those things. And then in 10 seconds, you have reiterated your entire case. There is no utility to the round for you to just restate things a whole bunch of times. Engage in clash with what the other team says. That should be the bulk of all of your speeches, period.
Good.
Good.
Okay, so we talked about this a lot in the Tiger King episode. Let's just start there, okay? And I think there's something that what you really especially don't want to do is reiterate credibility attacks or saying someone's dumb or something like that. Let's start with there. Second of all, you want to, screaming out the word topicality 40 times will not mean that your topicality is going to be used against the other team. In fact, by screaming that word alone, you're probably giving a judge a reason not to vote for it. Okay, so we've talked about this exact issue. Tim's smart to bring it up because it happens so much. You need to choose your words carefully and do not simply repeat the same sentence over and over. You need to give more reasons why that sentence is true with evidence or just do something else.
Yeah, you might also want to just think about changing the way that you organize your speech. If you you should be able to see that you're going to use this one argument over and over again. So make it one issue rather than something that you apply to 7 times on their case. It's like, listen, I'm going to talk about this one issue, and in that during your that issue right there, you talk about the many different ways in which it affects the debate. Okay. And so I always just suggest if you feel like you have one really big strategy, that's a pretty good indication that it should be an off case position.
Sure. Yeah.
And so usually people, I think the mistake that people are making when they're repeating something over and over again is that they know they got this killer argument. But what they're doing is they're just shooting themselves in the foot with the way that they're delivering it.
They're putting all their chips on that. I hope that the judge also buys that, because if they don't, you just spent your entire speech putting all of your effort into one single position. So that's a dangerous move to make.
It reminds me of an argument, Jared. If you want, maybe we could transition into not knowing. I don't know. Remember that? How I don't know.
There you go.
Okay.
Here's your transition.
So one reason why people, we're going to do a mix up here. Okay. One reason why people repeat their argument over and over again is because they don't know what they're saying. Okay? And when I say I don't know, this has a lot to do with before the debate ever started. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. You unfortunately don't get a lot of credit points in a debate round saying I don't know. I wouldn't recommend saying I don't know. It's a smarter answer than others, but my point is just before a debate, your coach often they're like, topicality. That's when this happens, and then you have to prove this, and this, and then do you have any questions? And then the debaters go, nope. And they're scared. They're scared to say. They're scared to say I don't know, and to their coach. They're scared to say I don't know to their fellow teammates when they're all alone. And we need in society. People are also really scared to say I don't know. That actually transcends debate 100%. But
yeah, I mean, like that's actually one of the signs I've seen when somebody actually matures into like a senior level debater is that especially when it happens during cross examination. And somebody asks like some really obscure question. And
I don't know.
The best answer is like, I don't know. Just moving on.
Like, who does know that, right?
Yeah. What?
That's the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Like that's the whole deal. Like you have to recognize when you don't know something and you get better at it, and that's the only way you'll get better at it.
Shout out to Ralph Castellanos, by the way, saying that's exactly how he coaches. Don't be scared to say I don't know, and that's in life, but also in debate preparation, and even sometimes in a round. Just know that in a round, use that sparingly and strategically. Don't just say I don't know to everything. It's not going to be a good look.
Yeah. I mean, but like, don't necessarily be afraid. Okay, don't be afraid of that. All right.
It's okay to not know something. Thank you again, Swish Fish. This is a multiple week participant. It's good to see you again, buddy.
Yeah, it's okay to not know something, and especially if it's like you can detect whether or not something matters, right? Like I don't know. It's like how many ping pong balls can fit into an airplane? I don't care.
11 million. Like, everyone knows that.
You know what I mean? And so like while like figuring stuff out like that might be interesting, it's like it's not interesting for this topic right now. Like keeping focus on your thesis, right? Like it comes up over and over again. It's like you just got to know what you're trying to prove. And if they're asking a question where it doesn't matter whether or not you answer it correctly, like you don't have no obligation to know something that's irrelevant to the topic.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's
really quick. One more thing before we go on. I mean, just know that like it can be about your case and maybe your partner knows. It can be about your case and maybe your coach knows. It can be about debate theory. It can be about times of the tournament. Like just don't be scared to say I don't know. It's actually really good to know what you don't know, because then you can go find out what you need to know. And like go find it. It's our job. But like don't be scared of saying I don't know before the debate round, to understand what you're saying so you don't say the same thing over and over because you don't know the substance.
All right, last one.
My bad.
Here's mine. No, you're good. Underestimating your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So what do I mean by that? I actually got an example that we could build off of too. And so what this means is that when people start preparing an argument, like they get their side and then they're given their topic. And then they start thinking about all of the stupid arguments that their opponent can make. And they're like, oh, yeah, when they make this stupid argument, I'm going to make this response. Hey, let me give you an example. Because of that.
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes this happens. Okay. So here's the resolution. Here's the example. Okay. There you go. There's a topic, a challenging topic. Okay. I think that there's something like that. You're on the negative.
Okay.
All right. You're on the negative. All right. So you're on the negative. What are you doing right?
This is a breeze, this one.
Yeah. And
Nestle Corporation is a person too.
Yeah. And so they say,
right?
Water is a human right. It's like, of course they're going to say that we should like socialize all water sources and, ration it for everybody. And like, what you got to do is you got to stop and think. Let's say you're on the affirmative. Mm-hmm. What would you argue? Would you argue rationing water? That would be your case. That would be like they extend the resolution to absurdity.
De-development.
Assume that their opponent is going to do that too. No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to say the stupidest argument. They're going to say the smartest argument. They're going to be saying things like Flint, Michigan should have clean water.
It's hard sometimes. It's all about debaters have to be really, the only word I could think of is like mentally elastic. Like you have to be very you have to be quick to understand what your weakness is. And like, maybe that's a skill you need to work on a little bit. You know what I mean? And understanding your opponent. I also want to just chime in with the last couple of seconds. Don't overestimate your opponent. Like, part of not getting thrown off your game is just trusting that, like, no matter what they just did, it didn't just shock the pants off anybody, and you could shock the pants off them right now. So don't underestimate yourself, just like you shouldn't overestimate or underestimate your opponent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When you're preparing for your side of the debate, the weird thing is that you should start with your opponent. You should start with if I were my opponent, what would be the best argument that I could make? And that's where you should start, because anything less than that is a worse argument. You should be able to beat the worse, an argument that isn't as good, right? So if you prepare for the best, when somebody says something stupid, you're like, oh, well, hell, and I don't need to be like quite on my game. I could just phone it in now. You're saying you're spouting stupid stuff, like, because I already prepared for the best, and you did not bring that. Like, I don't know. That was, yeah.
Anyways, let's do this, Jared.
All right. Hey, everyone.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. We got Tim Seavey, assistant to the director, San Diego State University. Matthew Shapiro, Esquire. And I gotta drop that one right there. And I am Jared Kubika Miller, your debate coach, professor of communications.
Debate coach.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Okay. Bye.